All right, let's get to Socrates' big speech here. So Socrates says, and this is a character in Socrates' story is giving this speech, just like Socrates is a character in Plato's book who's giving a speech. But he says, you and I must not be guilty of this fundamental error which we condemn in others. As our question is whether the lover or non-lover is to be preferred, you want a friend or someone who's in love with you, let us first of all agree in defining the nature and power of love. And then, keeping our eyes upon the definition, and to this appealing, let us further inquire whether love brings advantage or disadvantage. Lysias didn't do that. And Socrates does that, and it's real important and real interesting. He defines what the hell he's talking about. He makes a clear definition. Now, those of you who have been considering the question that I asked you, is a hot dog a sandwich or is a hamburger a sandwich? One of the first moves you're probably going to make is to define what a sandwich is, because it kind of depends on the definitions, right? If you say a sandwich is meat between two pieces of bread, then someone's going to go, what about a peanut butter sandwich? That's not meat. Then you go, oh, okay, I better change it. It's protein between two pieces of bread. Okay? And then they go, a hamburger is a sandwich because it's meat between two pieces of bread, but a hot dog is not a sandwich because it's only one piece of bread. But is it one piece of bread? Because the bread's on, it's to define the sandwich as bread on either side, because in that case, the hot dog does have bread on either side. Also, what if the hot dog bun rips at the bottom so there's two pieces? Is it magically transformed into a sandwich at that point? The point is that Socrates has clear definitions. You need clear definitions in your papers in order to write well. You got to make sure people understand what you're talking about by defining things. Now, sometimes students will do stupid stuff. They'll define really obvious words and they'll just use dictionary definitions only just to take up space in their paper and look smart. I don't recommend that. So if you're writing a paper about Plato, please do not start out with the definition of philosophy. A dictionary definition of love is also not going to be real helpful because everybody knows that. But Socrates is like, let's make sure we understand what he's going to define love in an interesting way. That's a more interesting thing to do. So you might want to think about defining words clearly. And I'll have more to say about definitions in dictionaries later. For now, let's just keep going into this speech here. Oh, no, I'm doing it now. So one thing I want to say about definitions, this is real important. Students will often go to the dictionary. When they want a definition, you go to a dictionary. I recommend that. You should do that all the time. That's great. But most of my students don't fully understand what a dictionary is. They have wrong ideas about dictionaries. So let's talk about dictionaries for a hot second. A dictionary, because you're going to want to go to the dictionary. Socrates says we got to define love. And so you may go to the dictionary and look up what love means. If you're writing about whether a hot dog is a sandwich, you might want to go to the dictionary, find out what a sandwich is, right? And then you have a definition. The problem with that plan, and this is tricky, students are really thrown by this. So this is a big one. A dictionary is not a rule book. A dictionary is a history book. So that when you look up something in the dictionary, it doesn't tell you how the word must be used. It tells you how the word has been used in the past. Now, probably you want to use words in the future like people use them in the past, but you might not want to either. You have the option not to. Most words, you're going to want to use them exactly the same as everybody used them in the past. But if you're defining love, you're not stuck with whatever the dictionary definition. You may have your own definition of love, and you're welcome to put it in the paper and talk about it. The dictionary is not a rule book. It doesn't tell you whether words are real or not real, and it doesn't tell you what they mean for all time, forever, and ever. They just tell you what words used to mean in the past. It's a history book. And you can decide what to do with that information. Now, most people on most words are going to follow the dictionary, and they're going to, what people did in the past, they're going to do in the future. But you don't have to. You can use words in different ways. And one thing that drives people nuts is that if people use a word wrongly, if people use a word differently enough, the definition in the dictionary changes. And then everybody gets upset because they're like, they changed the dictionary and they changed the rule in the dictionary. But the dictionary is a history book. So if human beings change the way they talk, the dictionary has to change because it has to record that change for history. Just to give you a simple example. Well, that's not a simple example. It's too complicated. I'm not doing that now. Yeah, I think I'm going to save that. The point is that that's what dictionaries do. They just tell you what words have meant in the past. So you're not stuck with dictionary. Socrates is going to define love for himself. And again, the dictionary would be a helpful place to start, but don't think you can solve the problem of definitions by just looking stuff up in the dictionary and leaving it alone. You're going to need to do more work than that. So, okay, dictionaries. I think I'm pretty good on this. All right. Actually, I'll give you a stupid example. Nonplussed is a word that um, means like very offended or upset. But because the word non makes it seem pretty neutral, people thought it meant like you don't care. And people used it that way so much that they had to change the definition in the dictionary to mean like don't care very much about it. So it's a trick, like words will change their meanings based on what people do with it. It's a little tricky. But the point is, the dictionary is a history book, not a rule book. In some countries, it is a rule book. I think in France, it's a rule book, but in English, it's a history book. All right. Everyone sees that love is desire. And we know also that non lovers desire the beautiful and the good. So here is some big Plato stuff right here. Love is desire, right? It's a desire. Non lovers desire the beautiful and the good, right? Well, what if love is desiring something? What is it that people desire? They desire things that are beautiful and good, says Socrates. Now, in what way is the lover to be distinguished from the non-lover? So he says, okay, you've been talking about lovers and non-lovers. Let's get a clear definition of the difference. Let us note that in every one of us, there are two guiding and ruling principles which lead us whither they will, meaning wherever they will. There's two principles which lead us wherever they want to. Two ruling principles. So he says there's sort of these two rules. There's two forces inside us that lead us. He says, let's talk about those two forces. One is the natural desire of pleasure. The other is an acquired opinion which aspires after the best. These two are sometimes in harmony and then again at war, and sometimes the one, sometimes the other conquers. This is tough. So he says that, look, love is a desire. What do people desire? They desire the beautiful and the good. They want things that are beautiful and things that are good. So he says, here's the thing. In every one of us, there are two guiding and ruling principles. One is the natural desire of pleasure. The other is an acquired opinion which aspires after the best. So natural here, this is the crucial thing that's going to help you with this is natural and acquired. These two words. Natural means you're born with it. Acquired means you picked it up later. So you have a natural desire of pleasure. You're born with that one. The other is an acquired opinion which aspires after the best. So this is interesting. This is some central Plato stuff. He says there are two forces inside you. One you're born with, and it is the desire for pleasure. You just want to be happy. You want to have fun. You want to be entertained. You want good things to happen to you all the time. That is a desire you are born with, right? Little kids are born and they want to just like eat sugar and, have fun all the time, and they don't want to ever stop. But he says there's another thing, which is an acquired desire for the best, meaning what's good for you. And you can see those two things are often fighting with each other, right? Your desire for pleasure, which you're born with, and then your desire for pleasure, which you're born with, and then your acquired opinion, which aspires after the best. The clearest way to think about this is at a restaurant. You feel this all the time at a restaurant. You go to a restaurant, you have a natural desire for pleasure. So that makes you want to order a giant piece of chocolate cake. You're born wanting all the pleasure in the world. He says, but we also have an acquired opinion. You've learned that just having a giant piece of chocolate cake for lunch is like not the healthiest option. And so what's best for you would be the salad. These two forces are always with you. You have a desire for pleasure, and you also have an opinion that tells you got later in life, your parents taught you or whatever, society taught you, somebody taught you, but you know that there are things that are good for you, and then there's just like enjoyment. So Socrates starts by defining these things. We'll pick that up in the next video. Interesting. I hope you notice we're in psychology territory now, so we'll talk about that next.